I'm Sid, and these are my best friends. My mom, Kim, my dad, Ty, my sister, Maddie, and our salty dog, Stella. We started our adventure refitting a Lagoon 450 before taking on the massive project of resurrecting a sunken 2021 Leopard 50. It's been one heck of a ride, but we're on this adventure to die with memories, not dreams, and live dauntless.
All right, guys, welcome back. Some developments on our end. We're going stir crazy because, one, this is the third week of this stupid panel project. Number two, we've been living on the dirt like landlubbers for the last almost 9 months, and it is driving us absolutely crazy, and it's getting very expensive. So, in an effort to maintain our sanity and save a little bit of cash, we are kicking it into high gear over the next 15 days, T-minus, to be out of here and be living on our boat, whether she's ready for us or not. So, to make this happen, I've got to finish this breaker panel, and in an effort to do that, there's a few things that we need to tackle to make it safe and adequate and permanent so we don't have to go back and do it again. One is going to be reinforcing the panel. I added that 1/2 inch acrylic to the back of that 1/8 inch last week and took a flimsy panel like this to something really stiff. Now that was all fine and dandy, but I did notice that once I put the breakers in, it was still flexing a little bit, and I really don't like that. So I'm gonna do some rigid supports behind and between the breakers that will also hold that panel that I was describing. So I'm gonna put a piece of clear acrylic on the back of that. Maybe not this week. But once that's done, I'm going to be able to take it to the boat, hang it in place, and start pulling wire, hopefully. Also, I'm gonna make some labels, which I'll get into here in a little bit on how those labels look and work. That was a complete pain in the butt, but I'm gonna take you through that process as well. And then, I think we have some fun stuff going on this week as well. Some personal stuff, some family, and what we do when we're not working on a boat. So, thanks for joining us. If you guys are new here, please consider subscribing. It's a fun channel. For all of you that have been here, thank you so much for your continued support. Now that we have all of that out of the way, let's get on to reinforcing this panel and getting power in this boat. All right, guys, I have now devised my evil plan on for the back of this. I've taken a piece of this acrylic and I cut them just a little bit taller this time. And the reason I wanted to do that is make sure that I was completely clear of these taller breakers for the 48 volt and higher amperage stuff that just needed a little bit more clearance. And last week I talked about being able to, have some vertical supports in between these breakers. And the more I thought about it and your guys' input is that if I raised them up that high, it would be very difficult to install and service them. And I really don't need to be separating the voltages necessarily. They're already several inches apart. So in the thought of being able to easily run wires and be able to clear this top section, what I did was I took my cutout pieces. I had to add a little extra kicker on that. I don't know if you guys can see that little piece I had to add on the end. So I'm in the process of doing that, and the little kicker will glue to this. So I use the shaper and I cut this notch section. This will line up, and each of these vertical posts will be between the rows. That will allow a little extra support for this little kick up here that I'm filling in the space with. And then I've decided that I can take the ends of these little teeth that stick up, and I'll be able to drill and tap, or drill some holes through a top piece of acrylic and tap this along with the bottom side. And that's gonna allow me to put one big sheet of acrylic clear across the entire back. Then, with these guys down the middle, that'll give me space with them shorter, again, to be able to screw them in, but just a wider space for this to lay along this channel here. So I'm pretty happy about that. I'm tacking in these little pieces with this solvent and welding them to the end. As soon as that's done, I'm going to put it all together, kind of get everything situated, and then I'm going to put a couple dabs of adhesive on there, or solvent, to be able to just kind of lock it all together. So that's the current update. If you guys are enjoying this, please make sure that you like, share it with a friend. I see so many people watch, and I can see on the back end where you guys are all from, so thank you from all over the world, or thank you to all over the world from watching what I'm doing here in Florida. And share it with one person. Just share it with one person, and ask them to subscribe, and it'll help the channel immensely. So now that I got that said, I'm gonna get back to welding this acrylic together and show you how I put it in the boat. All right, I think that's gonna be about it for tonight. It is tacked in, it's nice and sturdy. It's exactly where I want it to go. It's not interfering with the installation or removal of any of the breakers. And yeah, I think it's gonna be stiff. So tomorrow, when I pick it up from the corner, it won't flex at all. Like right now, if I just put pressure up on a corner, you can kind of see it move before I put these supports in. And now I think it's rock solid. So I'm gonna sign off. Have a great night. All right, guys, it is the following morning, and everything is nice and welded and adhered. And now that I pick this corner up, it moves with no flex whatsoever. Do notice that there is a little bit of flex on this corner, but I've got two hinges here, and then this top hinge, of course, isn't really supporting much of anything. But it is now pretty darn sturdy, if you can see. Cool. That looks like. I'll grab that other camera after I get it hung and show you what it looks like when it swings out. But we are now every bit of 25 pounds on this bad boy. So I am going to now take it to the boat and mock up my strike side where it's going to open and close. I've got to cut a few pieces of plywood to put in to support my hinges. I'm not going to bore you with any of that stuff. I'm just going to take you to the boat and see what we can do on that end. Super happy. I think this is going to be a solid production. So if anybody needs a Dauntless 3000 panel, you know where to hit me up in the comments. All right, so here I'm at the boat. This is the old panel, and it's kind of hard to tell, but you can get up close. There's actually a vinyl that they've put this on. You can see it stretching, and they just covered this piece of plywood with vinyl. It matches the inside of the boat. I'm not a huge fan. I'll show you why. Well, one, you've got this kind of glued surface that comes around the edge here, and the plywood's a little bit flexible, and well, I think we can do better. So I'm going to remove this guy out of here. There's two hinges on this one, and then this big loom of wire that goes all the way down there is actually cut off. So I'm going to remove that. And then up here is some lighting controls that I will show you. This entire section here is going to come off, and then I couldn't find that in your. This entire section here is going to come off, and then I have this piece of plywood that's covered with laminate that's going to go here. That's going to house all of the bus bars. So I just need to get all this junk out of here and get this guy off, and then I'll be able to mock up my panel and start putting bus bars under it. Alright, so this is my new bus bar panel. This guy's gonna go right in here. A little ventilation there so I can pull some cool air through here if necessary. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Just need to get the vacuum, clear this whole space out, wipe some of this down and get some of the gross stuff out of here, and yeah, move on to the next. Alright, so I've got all the space opened up, everything's cleaned up, and I've got my backer on the wall here. Now I'm gonna change this. Originally the cover plate, the cover door that would block over the panel was hinged here, and it opened this direction so that you could come from upstairs in the salon, open this door, and you could see the panel. And all that's great, and I like that. However, the inside panel swung this direction. So if you had to work on this panel, you were pinned between this door and this door, and you had about 18 inches to stand with a bunch of high voltage, and I just don't think that's a good idea. So I'm still going to keep the hinge on this side and maintain that door. I'm going to reuse the door. I just pulled it off, but I'm going to build up the inside wall here just past this little lip that's on the inside. You can see right here. So I'm going to build this wall out so that I can mount a hinge here. And those are the hinges that did come today, and I'll be able to mount this panel. But I need to, again, have that filled out. And then when I open this door, the inside door will be offset ever so slightly, and that will also open 90 degrees. So that is the plan. I don't know exactly how it's going to lay out, but I brought some pieces with me, so I think I can make it happen. Okay, here are these fancy hinges that I was telling you about last week. So you take it, instead of drilling screws through these holes, this cams down and latches and spreads these pins out. And that is what locks it into place. And it takes one heck of an effort to get it in there. Okay, I'm going to take measurements of where the hinge plates are going to go, the base plates to go inside the cabinet, and then transfer those over, screw those plates in, and then these guys are actually quick release. There's actually just a grab on the edge, so when you get the hinge close, you hook the front side and the back side just rolls and snaps in with a quick release on it. So hopefully it should be pretty easy. On the edge, and if I did my math correctly, if I mathed right, I believe these guys should snap right in. Alright, looks like I just need a slight adjustment to run my plates up. Looks like they aren't exactly centered, but I think I'm only off by about 3/32 of an inch. So there's these screws right here on these hinges that allow you to make adjustments. Okay, come on, baby. There we go. Yeah, I think it's going to give a pretty even reveal on either side. Got a little bit of interference on this deal that sticks in, but I can trim that off right down here. And I'm going to put a filler panel here. And the reason I've got this set off so far is when this door opens, it actually sticks out a ½ inch. So when I fold this open, I don't want any of the equipment like the Touch 70 or any of that to interfere and touch. I want there to be a bit of a gap between this door and the panel when it's open. All right, I'm going to mark these sections here that are hitting and trim this guy down. I think that is going to be a win. All right, guys, this is a resounding, smashing success, and I am super happy with the way that it turned out. So why is it back here at the shop? Well, the reason is because I cut all of these sharp edges with the laser. That's okay. But where I cut everything with the CNC, it left a razor sharp edge. And I am the proud owner of about 7 cuts from yesterday, just moving my hands around the outside and manipulating it. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take my little palm router, this little guy right here, And I'm gonna put this little, like, 1.5 mm round over bit on it. And I'm just gonna run around the edges and just soften everything up. And on the back side, where I can't get the router in, I'm just gonna use a hand file and just knock all those sharp edges off so that myself or anybody else doesn't get cut. So let me get to that right now. Done. Now I'm gonna take it back and install it in the boat. So I'm gonna pack up, head over there, and I'll see you in a few. Ah, beautiful. All right, so we have rerouted or changed a little bit of the layout on the panel. Kim is updating a spreadsheet, and as soon as that's done and we do one final check, then I will be cutting some labels. All right, so now I've got all of that done, and I've got the big labels and my small labels done. I now need to engrave them. So in order to do that, I have got a layout drawn up that has a recess for these labels to go inside of, and then a little finger grab so I can pull them back out. I'm gonna set that up under my laser, and that is gonna allow me to square up the engraving on those labels and get them exactly where I want. So that will allow me to engrave a bunch of them in batches all at one time. So I've got a little bit to get set up, so let me go do that, and I'll show you what it looks like when it gets engraved. Cutting here in the garage, doing my labels. It is now dinner time, and we are gonna head over to Sid and Mike's. For those of you that don't know, Sydney has found the love of her life here in Fort Pierce, Florida, and she moved off the boat when we sold the 45, and she's now living with her boyfriend, Mike, and we are gonna go over to their house for dinner, and she's making one of our family favorites, which is adobo pork tacos. Oh, so delicious. So I'm gonna pack up, turn the lights off, and we're gonna head over and grab some dinner with the family. See you guys later.
Okay, we're at Sydney and Mike's house, and Sydney has cooked adobo carnitas for dinner, so we're very excited about that. But she has the trials and tribulations of hosting dinner at her house that she's going over about her grocery store trips.
It's just tacos.
Well, everyone's being pushy, and I had to make not one, not two, but 3 trips to the grocery store for this meal because I did not, like Santa Claus, check my list twice. So
Apparently you didn't even check it once.
But that's okay.
it's done now, and we're ready to eat.
We have our queso fresca and cilantro and ice balls. And then our pork and our slaw
And spicy sauce.
and spicy sauce.
Are you hiding?
We're gonna load up our tacos and have dinner and catch you guys tomorrow.
All right, I've got my first set of labels done, and I am going to be test fitting them here on the panel. And this stuff's about 1/16 of an inch thick, so it's super, super thin. And I'm gonna hold it on with some good old basting tape from SAILBOAT. It's just a double-sided tape used to hold fabrics before you sew it. And I did a test on the first panel that I cut, and it actually seemed to hold pretty well. So this way I can easily take it off if I need to, and test fit them and move things around just in case. So there's no permanent solution to attach these to the panel. All right, so we got some wins and losses on this guy. I think that the win was Well, I figured out exactly what I want to do, and all of the breakers are now put in their position. I think that's the final spot where they're going to be. The downside is that although the labels are cool, they just didn't turn out quite like I wanted them. And the reason it didn't happen that way is I had to cut it on two different machines. One, I had to cut the labels with the CNC because this is ABS material. And lasers cannot cut ABS. It just melts and froths and looks really nasty. Number two, I then create a tray to put these in to be able to cut them. And between transferring the files, they were just a little bit off. So not all of my stuff is as crisp as I would like it. So look at my down spreader, right? It's about to run off. The label isn't quite centered. It's not as dark as I'd like. Nah, I do have some other material coming, but in an effort to get the video done and frankly just move on with another project, because I know what these switches are and I know what they do. So I really don't need a label while I'm wiring the panels up. I just need it before anybody is on the boat and really using it. So I've got some additional acrylic coming that is going to be a two-tone acrylic, just like these labels. So it'll be white on the top, black on the bottom, and when I etch it, it will actually look black. And I think I'll be able to get a much crisper layout when one machine is doing both. So thank you guys again so much for watching. I'm going to kind of wrap this guy up, but for now, 100% win. We just need to wait on some additional stuff to come in to wrap this guy up, and then I am going to be able to move into air conditioning next week so that I am not sweating anymore. And I'm waiting for the cool weather. Speaking of cool weather, make sure if you guys are going to the Annapolis Boat Show to say hi, follow our social media. We'll be having some meetups, and of course we want to meet all of you. And if you are going and you don't have your tickets yet, make sure that you use this code down below to order them. You'll save a couple bucks. And until next week, subscribe if you don't, and like if you do, and I'll see you guys next week.